All right, guys, here's another episode. I don't know what to call these. Another video of Narc here. So, I've been noticing the last few cabinets I did, the Simpsons, Turtles, the Mortal Kombat one, that in some spots it seemed like my T-molding was veering either to the left or right of the wood. It was straight down and then it was slightly coast one way or the other way, and I kept wondering, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Am I like tilting the router? Is it getting away from me and I'm not like holding it flat and flush? Because that's happened to me before. And I was cutting this T-molding groove and I'm like really paying attention to how the table of the router's riding the wood. And I made sure I kept it flat. So after I'd recorded the last clip of the video prior to this, I was looking at this T-molding groove and I was looking down it and I'm like, son of a bitch, it's all over the place. So I have a tendency to turn the router as I go around corners because it just makes it flow smoother as it goes around the corners. For me, it's more comfortable. So I got out my calipers and I measured like from here, from the crack to this side and from the crack to this side. It was pretty even, within a couple thousandths. Came down here and measured and it's way off. And then I measure down here and it's off the other way. So I came over here to my router with a scrap piece of wood and cut a groove from this way, and I measured it and it was where I'd set it, even. So I was like, son of a bitch, I cut it from this side, it's off. I cut it from this side, it's off. I cut it from this side, it's off. And it's all off different ways. This table is leaned or something. So every time I was turning the router, it was cutting it at a different height. That explains why when I would turn and would be cutting it right at that split second, it would feel like it would drag. That's because the blade was cutting at a different angle through the wood. So somehow something got bent or tweaked on here and it no longer cuts straight. I mean, it works pretty good for everything else, but I don't think this is going to work well for cutting slots. So, and I'm glad I caught this. My whole entire T-molding groove is crooked. There's spots that it's dead on in the center, and there's spots that it's too far this way or too far that way. So I am going to repack this with Bondo and I'm going to get my router that's on the router table I was using to make boxes for Mortal Kombat, and I'm going to set it up with my slot cutter and see if I can get a straight slot. I'll do that on a piece of practice wood. try to explain what was going on here. You see the change of height right there and right here, and then it swoops back down. You might think that that's not a lot. You see how higher it is right there, and then it comes back into the center. You might not think that's a lot, but when you put a piece of T-molding on something that's supposed to be flush exactly on both sides, and it's doing one of these across the wood, it's very noticeable. So, I mean, this is about 6 minutes long now, guys. If you're still here, and I'm gonna be working on this now. Rather pissed. Okay, I don't know what I've recorded or not recorded here. Anyways, I got the T-molding slot again. T-molding slot cut again. I basically dialed it in on just a regular, piece of 3/4 inch plywood, just like this is. Now you have to take in for granted that this side's been sanded. Not a whole lot, but it's been sanded. It's a few thousandths thinner than a new piece of plywood, but it's just a few thousandths, and it's up to the outside. So I took this board and I cut a slot in it, because I'm gonna try to do something here. That's 3/4 inch T-molding from Simpson's. It's what's left over. So I cut this slot in this piece of wood. Nothing's focusing. What the heck? Looks like shit. There we go. And then I took some sandpaper and I sanded this slot until it became wide enough to it still holds the barb, but you can pull the barb through here and it keeps it centered. So I'm going to put my T-molding trimmer on top of this and mount it, and then put this board in the vise so the vise holds the board. Then I'll hold my T-molding cutter with one hand and pull the T-molding through it with the other hand. That should trim that T-molding to this size, and then it should fit perfectly on this side, on the inside, because it has not been sanded, and then it'll overhang just a smidge. And I mean, I don't even know if it will, but if it does, I will sand this board down on one side to perfectly match this, or really close. And now I'll pull all my T-molding through there. I have some red 3/4 T-molding for Mortal Kombat's. That will be 3/4, and this, around this one, will need trimmed, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna try to trim some 3/4 inch T-molding to exactly fit this. We'll see how it works. It might look like crap, I don't know. Okay guys, so you can see it's trimming out both sides. This is just I guess a proof of concept here. What I'll do is once I see that it works reliably, and not like right here's where I started. So I pulled about a foot through there. I highly doubt I'm going to use this yellow T-molding, and if I needed it for something, I guess I will. It's like less than 10 feet anyways. So I got this clamp squeezing the sides. So I'm just gonna kind of keep my fingers here to keep downward pressure, I guess. Yeah, see? She came off. Trimmed it did. It's getting caught on something. It slides really easy through right here. Right here. That's the brunt of the right back and forth part from cutting. I'm just gonna try holding it. Maybe the clamp's too much sideward force and it's squeezing the wood shut. And I'm getting too involved here. Yeah. It's not working, brothers. I'm going to try opening this crack up a little bit more with some sandpaper. Hang on. Alright. I think once you get it going, you got to just keep going. Because if you stop, it seems like that's when it gets stuck. I rounded this off so maybe it wouldn't get caught on the edges. Maybe that was it. I don't know, I just pulled another foot through there, pulled through just fine. That's much nicer. Okay, so now we have this T-molding. It's trimmed exactly to this size. The slots on the router is set exactly the same that it was cut on Narc. The only difference between this wood and the other wood is this is new and that's old, and that one had one side sanded, this one hasn't. So I'm gonna go take this and lightly tap it in to a spot over there and see how it looks. Alright, here's the bird. This T-molding is exactly the right width now. Or very damn close. But the dilemma is, somehow when I was sanding the T-molding crack, why is this not focus? Anyways, as you can see, it got off center. Now I did turn this around and then it overhung this side. So either I'm not thinking of something right, or when I was sanding the T-molding crack to be able to pull this barb through here, it migrated to one side more than the other instead of evenly taking from both sides. So maybe when I sand it, I should not sand it from one side but flip it and sand from the other, because I would be pulling the sandpaper toward me. Who knows? It's just a thought. I'm gonna do more testing. Alright, sorry guys, I'm back at it again. I've had this idea in my head so many times. I have to make it work. So I do have one pretty much cut in the center now. So I've pulled some off here, so this side's getting a little bit more trimmed off than this side, which that's off sides anyway, so I'm hoping it's just right. Come on when it's right. Alright guys, I'm still monkeying with this. I might have the offset right. So you can see this side's a thin side, and this side's trimming off just a pinch more. Chest fit a piece on the game, and it looked like the offset was pretty much right, except for the side that was cutting thin needed to be just a hair wider. So I layered some tape on here, about I think 4 or 5 times of taping this, and this heavy side was dead on, so I added just one single piece of tape to maybe just put a little bit of a finishing edge on that side. So I'm gonna go check it out now. Let's see if my tape theory made it different. I'm pretty sure it did. I can tell by how much it's shaving off. So you can see this outside edge is the heavy side that's being trimmed, and this inside is the thin side being trimmed. So I put 4 or 5 pieces of tape to try to get this to be widened out a little bit. So we'll have a check on it. Okay guys, I finally figured out the crazy magic whatever you want to call it, formula. I got some tape shimmed on this side, it was bare on this side, and I used this to tighten up the T-molding groove. And it actually became slick in there and slid through easier. So T-molding's, I mean, I'm just not going to complain about that. It's going to look very nice when it's done. So it'll look like that T-molding was made for that. Well, because it was, guys. So I got a little ding where I got a little heavy with the sander to straighten up right here. And then I'll be back to the point where I can hit all of this with the mouse sander at 220 or 240, and then mix up some primer, get my doors set out somewhere where I can get to them to primer them, and I'm gonna shoot primer on all these. So this will be the last time you see it all ugly. Alright guys, so I took my cutoff wheel and cut this bushing. Yeah, I kind of got into the shaft a little bit on this bottom side because of the angle of trying to get a 4.5-inch wheel in here. But hey, that ain't ever going to be seen anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and get a screwdriver and stick in there like a flat blade and just spread that apart so it'll come off. Alright, so I just took this screwdriver and I stuck it down here in the cut and just kind of twisted it to open it up. And see how rusted that was? I did gouge into the shaft a little bit, but it'll go under the new bushing and it won't take away from anything. So yeah, we'll be cleaning up this joystick with polish and everything, and we'll see how it looks. T-molding trimming. Okay, guys. I should have took my mask off first. Hang on. Okay. So, I have everything primered. I primered this bottom section extremely heavy. These sides extremely heavy. And this top extremely heavy. I don't know. See all the wood grain? So, my theory is when this is nice and dry, I'm going to basically take all this primer off, almost to bare wood, if not bare wood. And what will happen is all that grain will be left with primer in it. And then when I get it and spray it again before I paint it, it'll appear a lot smoother. See, a lot of the wood grains disappeared in this. You can see a little bit right there. But once you would sand this down, that should all disappear. Not too necessarily worried about the back or the doors. So, anyways, it's primered. It's drying already. So, I'm gonna leave. This is gonna be it for this video, guys. Next video, I'll be sanding this down and reshooting it with primer, probably. You know, at least the these two pieces and the top of this, and then after that I'll paint. So come back and watch that, guys. I don't know how long it takes to get artwork from I believe Doc Mack, or, you know, what's his company? Galloping Ghost Production. I think that's him. At least it makes sense if it is. So, I know it looks like shit, guys, but I gotta get it that heavy to fill in them grain. It'll sand back off. Alright, guys, thanks. Subscribe and shit. Peace.